Good morning, guys. That's right. So President Trump is calling out those supporting Kilmar Abrego Garcia and says he will continue removing criminals from our country. The president saying in part, quote, he was supposed to be, according to the judge and the Democrats, a wonderful father from Maryland. But then they noticed he had MS-13 tattooed onto his knuckles. 4 House Democrats visited El Salvador yesterday to push for the suspected gang member's release, but were denied a meeting with him. And now they are demanding daily proof of life updates.
We're not the first here. We're not going to be the last members of Congress fighting and demanding the return of Abrego Garcia.
We have written a letter just as of 30 minutes ago to Secretary of State Marco Rubio demanding daily proof of life for Mr. Abrego Garcia. He is a father. He is a husband. He's a union member.
I am a mother. The idea that Kilmar was detained from in front of his 5-year-old son is heartbreaking to me.
This is on Donald Trump.
Maryland Senator Chris Van Hollen also paid the suspected gang member a visit on the taxpayer's dime. Meanwhile, Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth responding to a report from the New York Times, citing anonymous sources claiming he shared war plans with family and friends on the Signal app. Listen.
They got Pulitzers for a bunch of lies. Pulitzers for a bunch of lies and on hoaxes time and time and time again. And as they peddle those lies, no one ever calls them on it. See, this is what the media does. They take anonymous sources from disgruntled former employees, and then they try to slash and burn people and ruin their reputations. Not going to work with me.
It's the second reported Signal-related leak this year after the Atlantic editor-in-chief Jeffrey Goldberg was mistakenly added to a group chat. But President Trump is defending Hegseth.
Why do you still have confidence?
Because he's doing a great job. Ask the Houthis how he's doing. Pete's doing a great job. Everybody's happy with him. We have the highest recruitment numbers I think they've had in 28 years. No, he's doing a great job. It's just fake news.
And White House Press Secretary Caroline Leavitt also dismissed an NPR report that the administration is seeking to replace the defense secretary. She called it fake news.
The super strong waterproof tape that can instantly patch, bond, seal, and repair. I sawed this boat in half. Yeah, doggy!
Its triple thick adhesive virtually welds itself to the surface, instantly stopping the toughest leaks.
Why does he work so well as that dude? What's that guy's name? What's that dude name? The slap it tape guy, or like, who's that guy? Why does Pete Hegseth's face work so well on that dude? Who is that guy? Jerry, get in the comment section. Let's freaking go. Today is Tuesday, April 22nd, 2025. Pete Hegseth supposedly going to resign, according to the corporate media. The corporate media is squealing like a stuck pig, and we're going to describe exactly why this is happening to Pete Hegseth. He's our friend. He's beloved by the MAGA base, and he's doing incredible work. We're going to do a deep dive into the dark, dark, black hole of the Pentagon and exactly how nefarious that operation is. In the world's largest office building, the world's largest employer, I guess, technically, the Pentagon. What nefarious things are happening? Why are they going so hard at Pete Hegseth? We're going to cover all of it today. Kristi Noem's Gucci bag, her ID, her social security card, $3,000 in cash, and her freaking passport got stolen. I guess somebody could board a plane now as Kristi Noem with real ID. Got it? Okay. All of it was stolen in D.C. in front of her Secret Service? What now? We're going to cover all that as well, ladies and gentlemen. Representative Brandon Gill will be on the program along with Trump advisor Tim Murtaugh, the man who got Trump the White House. Ladies and gentlemen, my name is Benny Johnson, and this is The Benny Show. We got a lot to cover today. It's going to be a great show. American Financing can make sure that you have a great show when it comes to your credit rating, when it comes to what you owe, the debt that perhaps accumulated over the Joe Biden years. By the way, the stock market absolutely rocking this morning. I know it's been a rock and roll time in the markets. President Trump is resetting the table globally for us. India just announced that they're agreeing to a trade deal with the United States of America. I'd much rather India than China. But that's a whole nother conversation. The point is that get yourself on good financial footing. There's a lot of good things to come We have a bunch of like very smart, self-made billionaires running the country. They know what they're doing, and we're going to establish some good finances, not just for our country, but for our own homes. Let's run our home like the country. Let's run our country like it's our home, because it is. American financing, if you're a homeowner, can help you out of the uncertainty and certainly out of credit card debt. They can help you access the equity that is tied up in your home to pay down high-interest credit card debt, leaving you with peace of mind. On average, people like you are saving $800 a month. They can close your loan in as little as 10 days, and you can get started right now. 888-528-1219. 888-528-1219. If you call my friends at American Financing, then they will help you out. AmericanFinancing.net/Benny. Make sure, ladies and gentlemen, that you are in the best possible position for the golden era. All right. Let's talk about an incredible thing that happened, an incredible thing that is happening right now in the United States military. And let's see. There you go. I want that one up, boys. Because there are very, very positive things happening across the American military, and that's not the plan. The plan was that the military become an incubator for wokeness. Now, why would you want that? That doesn't really help you in lethality. That doesn't I mean, while it may be very, very scary to see a bunch of non-binaries in foxholes, right, with purple hair, and face piercings, right, and limp wrists, it's not going to help us win a war. They might be scary, and then that would be about it, right? And when it comes to the defense they might put up. The point of the destruction of our American military is twofold. One, if you neuter the American military, then you create an ecosystem where you demoralize the entire country. And two, if you can demoralize the entire country, then there's going to be no one to check you when you spend $1 trillion on the woke programs of the military, turning the military into woke slop, which is what they had done, into transgender reassignment surgery bases, which is what they had created, into a DEI madness, DEI insanity, which is what we're pretty sure happened with the Apache helicopter crash that slaughtered 70 people that we still have gotten no explanation for. We're pretty sure that the person flying that Black Hawk helicopter, she had previously worked for Joe Biden, that she shouldn't have been in that seat, and certainly should have been better at flying the helicopter than smashing into the side of a commercial aircraft carrier, carrying men, women, children, Olympians, Chinese nationals, Russian nationals, so on and so forth. Anyway, it's dangerous. What's the point? The point is that all ended. And there was a specific moment that it ended. There was a moment where I said, and we said it because we were live during the hearing, we said, oh, hot damn, they are coming for Pete Hegseth. Ladies and gentlemen, here it is. This is the moment that they decided, Pete Hegseth is going to be our enemy number one, because he's going to get rid of all of the little goodies that we like in the military-industrial complex, including but not limited to forever foreign wars, where we can get filthy rich off of, the wars that destroy countries that we go in and then rebuild, and we get rich off of that, and then we get filthy rich off of retiring from Congress after voting for this stuff and getting placed on boards. Lockheed, Boeing, Raytheon. Oh, if you only knew in D.C., man, I lived in D.C. for 15 years, and the amount of money that is spent by defense contractors that is just lavished through Washington. Caviar and oysters and top shelf and renting out yachts. I mean, the stuff, it's totally and completely criminal. Every member of Congress that ever retires with any connection to the military, meaning they just served on the board, right? They served on the Armed Forces Committee or some subcommittee. They go immediately over to Pentagon contracting because that's where the cash is. And Pete Hegseth is shutting down the money train in his own way. He's like his own like miniature Elon Musk, where he is shutting down this corrupt gravy train. And he's also shutting down what they wanted to do to the military, which is demoralization, weakness, making it a non-threat for their true love, communist China. Ladies and gentlemen, Tom Cotton asking this question of Pete Hegseth during his confirmation hearing. And I'm telling you, this was the moment. This was the moment where Pete Hegseth became a marked man. Marked man. Okay, listen to this question. Tom Cotton goes, should we let women in these very, very violent combat roles in the military? Should we also let non-binaries and transgenders, what should these combat roles be? And Hegseth's response here rings like a bell. Here we go. This is the moment that the guy got marked. Here we go.
Trump indicated at all that he plans to rescind or alter that guidance?
You're correct to point out, Senator, that these are the decisions that the Commander-in-Chief will have the prerogative to make. He has not indicated to me that he has plans to change whether or not women would have access to these roles. However, I would point out, ensuring that standards are equal and high is of importance to him and great importance to me. Because in those ground combat roles, what is true is that the weight of the ruck on your back doesn't change. The weight of the 155 round that you have to carry doesn't change. The weight of the 240 Bravo machine gun you might have to carry doesn't change. And so whether it's a man or a woman, they have to meet the same high standards. And Senator, in any place where those things have been eroded or in courses, criteria have been changed in order to meet quotas, racial quotas or gender quotas, that is putting a focus on something other than readiness, standards, meritocracy, and lethality. So that's the kind of review I'm talking about, not whether women have access to ground combat.
Okay, so.
Oh, okay. So what he's saying is we're going to un-DEI, unwoke the military. We're going to have people who can kill in killing roles, people who can carry things and do things on the battlefield. We're not going to have limp wrists out there, for the lack of a better term. Limp dick. We're not going to have people who run around like this out on the battlefield. Got it. That's very good. They can play the Easter Bunny. They can play the Easter Bunny at the White House. We still don't know who was the Easter Bunny. Do we know? Do we have any confirmation? Who the hell was the Easter Bunny? Here's what we do have confirmation on. We have confirmation on what Pete Hegseth has done for the United States military. Let's begin. Recruiting is up. After historic lows, Army and Marine Corps recruiting have rebounded. The Army has reported a 10% increase in new enlistments year over year. Marine Corps hit a 100% of its recruitment goals, and the retention has surged across active duty units. This after years of missing targets and morale sliding. Why would morale slide? Imagine being a young man. Maybe you are a young man watching this. We have a large portion of our audience that is under 35. So you are technically able to be drafted, or you're able to enlist. Do you want to be put in a battlefield with somebody who cannot carry the firearm that is used to protect you? Like, you have to have backup, right? You have to make sure that you're fighting together as a unit, right? So let's say you're a machine gunner and the Joe Biden woke enlistee that is currently transitioning, that has been selected to protect you, can't carry the munitions for your machine gun. Too weak to do that. Does that inspire you to sign up for the military? Does that inspire you that somebody who's been selected to fly your plane, they were selected because of their skin color or their sexual orientation? That's why they're in the cockpit flying your mission while being shot at? No, that does not inspire enlistment. What does inspire enlistment is, regardless of who you want to have sex with or what your skin color is the day you were born, because of a thousand years of melanin in your skin. It's like, it is the dumbest possible way to put people in positions. It's literally the lowest common, the dumbest possible. It's the reverse of everything this country stands for anyway. That the people who will be standing beside you on a battlefield will be the most lethal and the strongest and the most capable, and not because of their skin color. That will increase recruitment. Morale is up. A recent Rand Corporation survey shows a 15-point jump in troop satisfaction compared to 2021, particularly among combat units. The return to traditional values and mission focus is driving re-enlistment and unity. Re-enlistment has absolutely skyrocketed in the military. The Army Combat Forces test ACFT, once watered down, has been reformed to restore challenge and purpose. Waivers for substandards recruits are being reduced, not being expanded. So if you can't do a push-up because your gut hits the ground before you even bend your elbows, you're out. Good. Exactly. Okay. Bloated bureaucracy is under the knife, replaced with battlefield-focused streamlining. America's influence is up. Philippines and Taiwan joint exercises up 30% year over year. NATO posture over 40,000 troops now forward deployed across Eastern Europe. Middle East regional deterrence missions have stabilized. Iran-backed attacks to U.S. bases have declined by 60% since Q3 2023. Lethality is up. The U.S. military is again training for warfighting, not workshops. Combat readiness scores from CENTCOM, which is, by the way, we broadcast down the street from CENTCOM, Central Command, showed a 20% increase in unit preparedness over fiscal year 2022. Investment in hypersonics, space defense, and cyber warfare being prioritized. The warrior ethos is ascendant. This is a post from Charlie Kirk. I can tell you some little bits and pieces of anecdotal evidence. Killer Klein and I both live here in Tampa. This is a military city. There's the biggest military base, biggest Air Force base, and the most powerful Air Force base around. CENTCOM is right here, where so many of these missions are operational out of, and there's members of the military or military support staff everywhere in the city. They are our neighbors. Perhaps you live near a military base or have engagements with people that are currently serving. How are they doing? I can tell you, I hear this when you're out mowing the lawn or when you're just walking the kids through the neighborhoods. Man, people are so proud to be in the American military right now. They are so proud to be cops. They are so proud to be EMT workers. They are very, very pleased with the directionality of the country. They're very pleased with this leadership. This is all getting up to a point because we're going to cover here now why they are attacking Pete Hegseth. They're attacking Pete Hegseth because he is doing the opposite of the goal of the communist Marxist woke goblins, which is the destruction of the American military, the demoralization of the American people, and the usage of the Pentagon as a slush fund for progressive wokeness and their own enrichment, right, through virtue signaling. That is what Pete Hegseth is putting an end to. Pete Hegseth on Fox News this morning saying just that.
Hey, great Brian. To see you, Mr. Secretary.
Great to see you.
So your thoughts on what's been reporting of Team Huddle and the Signal chat that the New York Times says took place between you, your wife, and your brother and some others?
So, Brian, if you remember when this all started, the first go-around, because this is the second go-around, right? They peddle old stuff, they kick it back up. I said repeatedly, no one's texting war plans. You know why I said that? Because I'm in the bowels of the Pentagon every single day. Just 10 minutes ago, I was looking at actual war plans of things that were ongoing or pending things to happen, because that's on a regular basis on classified systems. That's my job for the war fighters, for the President of the United States. I look at war plans every single day. What was shared over Signal then and now, however you characterize it, was informal, unclassified coordinations for media coordination and other things. That's what I've said from the beginning. At the beginning, it was left-wing reporters from The Atlantic who got a hold of it and then wanted to create a problem for the president. This is what it's all about, trying to get at President Trump and his agenda. Now, here at the Defense Department, because, Brian, I want this to be very clear, we take the classification of information very important. It's very significant to us that we safeguard it. And so when we had leaks, which we have had here, we did a serious leak investigation. And through that leak investigation, unfortunately, we found some folks that we believe were not holding to the protocols that we hold dear here at the Defense Department. Through that investigation, they have been moved on, and that investigation continues. As a result of that, everything we do here is above board, trying to make sure that we safeguard information. In this point, those folks who were leaking, who have been pushed out of the building, are now attempting to leak and sabotage the president's agenda and what we're doing. And that's unfortunate. It's not what I do. It's not how we operate. And so you've got another allegation being pushed again, not based on how we're operating around here. We're for the warfighters. We're for the president. And none of this is based in reality.
Okay, so that was not that was the next Hegseth clip. This was the Hegseth clip that I wanted to play right there, but that's okay. We need to see both of them. Here's Hegseth on the Trump bump recruitment. They blend together. Let's go.
You were up 108% in November, 119% in February, 108% after the election, 105% with the Navy, with the Marines up 112% and 100%. They are through the roof. The U.S. Air Force, 100% of its goal, same thing in February. And Space Force is also booming over 100%. I think the warfighters are happy to have a warfighter up top. Mr. Secretary, with all this controversy, everything swirling around, have you ever doubted your decision to take this job?
Oh, not for a minute. I didn't hesitate when the president asked me, and I haven't hesitated for a moment, because those numbers are a reflection of why we're here. We call it the Trump bump internally. The reality is when war fighting and lethality is brought back and it's serious, that what we're doing here is serious about getting after soldiering and war fighting, American people want to come back in. They want to sign up. These recruiting numbers don't surprise me. They don't surprise me one bit. They're a reflection of a yearning from the American public, of young people, to be proud of their country, to be proud of their military, to make sure when they serve, they're given everything they need. That's why I've fought for the budget that the Defense Department requires. And the president has said we'll have our first $1 trillion budget, because my kids, my 14-year-old, if he joins, he's going to have a great military. He's going to have peace through strength because of the historic investments of this president. So, no, I haven't blinked, and I won't blink, because this job is too big and too important for the American people, and I'm grateful for every opportunity the president has given me.
So you can see there the Trump bump. What's happening in the Pentagon is actually excellent. There's a saying where I come from, maybe where you come from. Anybody from the Midwest here? I grew up on a hog farm, mucking hog stalls in literal shit up to here. That's how it works in Iowa. They squealed like a stuck pig. You ever heard that saying? You ever been around a pig that squeals? It's like going out on a Saturday night in Austin, Texas, 6th Street, man, and at like 2 a.m., okay, and walking by a gaggle of the sorority chicks from the non-hot sorority. It's not pretty. It's loud. It's ear-piercing. It will make your ear bleed. If a pig squeals like really loud, it can like really damage your hearing. The stuck pig, the one that's in danger, squeals the loudest. And there is so much that is going on right now attacking Pete Hegseth. It's incredible. They've actually moved the target away from Trump to Hegseth. They tried to get Elon. They were able to inflict damage, but they weren't able to ply Elon away. And so they're moving the targeting to Hegseth here from the New York Times, ladies and gentlemen. I'm going to talk about this new iteration of Signalgate and something that's really dark and that's really nefarious that's going on here that needs to be noted, okay? New York Times. Let's go ahead and look. This was what happened yesterday, along with a NPR article. Make sure that we have that, boys. NPR article about Pete Hegseth's resignation soon. Let's read just the top line here. Hegseth has shared attack details in second signal chat. The defense secretary sent sensitive information about the strikes in Yemen to an encrypted chat that included his wife and his brother. Who's your source here, exactly? Is it the wife? Is it Pete Hegseth's wife or brother running to the New York Times? The pig that squeals? No. No, ladies and gentlemen, it's not the wife or the brother. Something dark is happening, and we're going to connect all the dots for you here. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth shared detailed information about forthcoming strikes in Yemen on March 15th in a private signal group that included his wife, his brother, and his lawyer. So are those the four people in the chat? So how do they know about this chat from Signal? Signal is, as we've covered, an encrypted messaging app. It's supposed to be secret. You're not supposed to be able to get these messages. Let's keep reading. Some of those people said the information Mr. Hegseth shared in the Signal chat included flight schedules, and so on and so forth. Essentially the same attack plans that were shared on the other Signal chat. That included the editor of The Atlantic. Oh, yeah, remember that? Remember how it's like there was a text chain amongst all the angels in heaven, and they added Satan to it by accident. Oh, we just added Lucifer. Hey, it's like archangels, Michael, Gabriel, they're all like making a text. Add Beelzebub accidentally to the chat. Very strange how the worst reporter humanly imaginable, the reporter that has run every single Trump hoax, was added to this chat. It seems very strange to me, but anyway. How are they getting these chats now? Exactly. Mr. Hegseth's wife, Jennifer, former Fox News producer, is not a Defense Department employee, but she has traveled with him overseas and drawn criticism for accompanying her husband to sensitive meetings. Oh, God. Okay. Well, I don't remember an article like this when Joe Biden was literally running cabinet meetings for the White House. Maybe we'll have to look a little harder. Item number 1. This is a non-story because there was no classified information sent. You can argue, and I would argue, that this is not the wisest way to share information, or maybe shouldn't be shared at all in this capacity. And I'm going to make that argument very sternly here in just a second. That's separate from the issue of, is Pete Hegseth sharing classified information on unclassified channels? Signal is an app that is loaded into everybody's phone. Signal is a common messaging app for federal communications. I get Signal messages daily from people working inside the Trump administration. It is the app of choice. Should it be? I don't think so, after the evidence I'm about to present to you. But nonetheless, there were no laws broken here. Yet Pete Hegseth is sued within 12 hours of the first Signalgate happening, and now this Signalgate is bursting forth. Who exactly is leaking this information? And now we move to the NPR article from yesterday. Would you look at this? NPR! The White House is looking to replace Hegseth as Secretary of Defense. Now, before we get to the White House's response here, which of course is very important, we need to talk a little bit about the connection between NPR and Signal. Catherine Mayer. You ever heard of her? Probably not. She's in charge of NPR. She's also somebody who said that the First Amendment is probably the biggest threat to democracy right now. I need you to understand the depths of evil of this person. Here's Catherine Mayer, this lady's in charge of government news, saying, the biggest problem that we have is the First Amendment in America. Let's go.
The number one challenge here that we see is, of course, the First Amendment in the United States is a fairly robust protection of rights. And that is a protection of rights both for platforms, which I actually think is very important, that platforms have those rights to be able to regulate what kind of content they want on their sites. But it also means that it is a little bit tricky to really address some of the real challenges of where does bad information come from and sort of the influence peddlers who have made a real market economy around it.
Okay, got it. Okay, the problem here is being able to speak freely in this country. Because if people speak freely, they might uncover the truth. And here's Catherine Mayer on what the truth is. Here we go.
But one of the most significant differences, critical for moving from polarization to productivity, is that the Wikipedians who write these articles aren't actually focused on finding the truth. They're working for something that's a little bit more attainable, which is the best of what we can know right now. And after 7 years there, I actually believe that they're onto something. That for our most tricky disagreements, seeking the truth and seeking to convince others of the truth isn't necessarily the best place to start. In fact, I think our reverence for the truth might have become a bit of a distraction that is preventing...
A bit of a distraction. It's preventing us from really having conversations. We like the truth too much. You're going to be shocked to learn that Catherine Mayer is also on the executive board of Signal. This person who hates the truth and who is advocating against the First Amendment as the biggest challenge in the country just so happens to also have her fingers in the pie at Signal. It's very strange to me that this individual specifically is on the board of Signal. It's very odd to me that these Signal chats that are seemingly and what are marketed as very secure chains of communication are constantly leaked. How are they getting the private Signal chats between Pete Hegseth and his wife and his lawyer? Isn't that privileged? what's going on internally at Signal. More importantly, Catherine Mayer, if she's on the board, well, what are her political beliefs exactly? Like, does she like Trump? Does she care about the democratic will of our republic? Here's the lady who has a outsized influence on the Signal chat app and who has total influence on government news propaganda at NPR, explaining her positions on President Trump. Let's go.
Do you believe that America is addicted to white supremacy?
I believe that I tweeted that, and as I've said earlier, I believe much of my thinking has evolved over the last half decade.
It has evolved. Why did you tweet that?
I don't recall the exact context, sir, so I wouldn't be able to say.
Okay. Do you believe that America believes in black plunder and white democracy?
I don't believe that, sir.
You tweeted that in reference to a book you were reading at the time, apparently, The Case for Reparations.
I don't think I've ever read that book, sir.
You tweeted about it. You said you took a day off to fully read The Case for Reparations. You put that on Twitter in January of 2020.
Apologies, I don't recall that I did.
Okay.
I'd no doubt that your tweet there is correct, but I don't recall that.
Okay. Do you believe that white people inherently feel superior to other races?
I do not.
You don't? You tweeted something to that effect. You said, I grew up feeling superior. How white of me. Why did you tweet that?
I think I was probably reflecting on what it was to grow up in an environment where I had lots of advantages.
It sounds like you're saying that white people feel superior.
I don't believe that anybody feels that way, sir. I was just reflecting on my own experiences.
Do you think that white people should pay reparations?
I've never said that, sir.
Yes, you did. You said it in January of 2020. You tweeted, yes, the North, yes, all of us, yes, America, yes, our original collective sin and unpaid debt, yes, reparations, yes, on this day.
I don't believe that was a reference to fiscal reparations, sir.
What kind of reparations was it a reference to?
I think it was just a reference to the idea that we all owe much to the people who came before us.
Oh, really? The white people who came before us?
Tweeted. Okay. How much reparations have you personally paid?
Sir, I don't believe that I've ever paid reparations.
Okay, it's just for everybody else.
I'm not asking anyone
Seems
to pay
to be what you're
reparations, sir.
suggesting.
Okay, you get the point. You get the point here, right? Who this person is. This is the person in charge of all government propaganda. She's currently in her position at NPR. She's still serving on the board at Signal. And it just so happens to be that all these Signal chat group informations, texts, private conversations with lawyers, is that even legal? With Pete Hegseth, that those are being leaked. Got it? This is like the listeners, right? During impeachment 1.0. You remember the listeners from the CIA? How they were listening in on Trump's phone calls and they were leaking them to Adam Schiff? You realize, how that all happened? This is how it works. This is the op. Pete Hegseth says, these leakers, these listeners, are all going to prison. Here we go. Pete Hegseth says evidence from leak probe will be handed over to DOJ for potential charges. Defense Secretary Pete Hegseth ripped hoax press and blamed recently fired aides for spinning lies for the turmoil now engulfing the Pentagon, vowing in a Fox News interview that all the persons who are leaking sensitive information will be found and will be referred to the Justice Department. When that evidence is gathered sufficiently, and this is all happening very quickly, it'll be handed over to the DOJ and these people will be prosecuted as necessary. We don't think, based on what we understand, that it's going to be a good day for a number of these individuals who have been found to be investigated. Okay, well, this seems opaque. Let's listen to Pete Hegseth say it. I will say this, and I think this is very important. There was constant leaks forever that nobody was punished for at all. And I know some of these people. I know the leakers. They got rewarded, actually, for leaking on Trump in term one. They are the lowest rat bastards. They are saboteurs, Benedict Arnolds, true traitors, a straight-up Judas to the president. A lot of these people got rewarded with plum contracts at media companies that will remain unmentioned. But yeah, they leaked all the time on President Trump. It'd be nice to see one of these people go to jail. It'd be nice to see the hammer dropped. And I don't care what kind of an administration it is. Like if you're criminally leaking, that you got to go to prison for that. Here's Hegseth.
So, Mr. Secretary, I guess I can conclude this. We know some bizarre situation with Michael Waltz happened with the first time the whole thing with the Signal app came out. You believe this came out, they said it was called Team Huddle, because one of the people who work for you, one of the three who no longer are there, leaked this out as a way to get back at you?
That's right, Brian. When you dismiss people who you believe are leaking classified information, and again, the investigation is ongoing and that will take time, and when the evidence produced, it will go to DOJ, why would it surprise anybody, Brian, if those very same people keep leaking to the very same reporters whatever information they think they can have to try to sabotage the agenda of the president or the secretary? So once a leaker, always a leaker, often a leaker. And so we looked for leakers because we take it very seriously. And we will do the investigation. Right. And if those people are exonerated, fantastic. We don't think, based on what we understand, that it's going to be a good day for a number of those individuals because of what was found in the investigation. So if they want to keep leaking and pushing and peddling things that try to sabotage the president's agenda, that's unfortunate. But that's how leaking works in this town. We're focused on recruiting, on rooting out DEI, on securing our southwest border, on the president's agenda, and it's going very well at the Pentagon, and I'm proud of it.
Right.
It is going well with the Pentagon. Pete Hegseth ratioed the Democrat account this past weekend, which is great. You have to go to the original tweet, please. Thank you. Pete Hegseth needs to go from the Democrats. In case you're wondering exactly how coordinated all of this is, there are cuck Republican senators now calling for Pete Hegseth to go. Every Democrat is using the exact same lines. They've been handed a script. The weakest or most compromised sex tape Jeffrey Epstein Island Republicans are also reading the lines that are handed to them. I'm looking at you, Don Bacon from Nebraska. Pete Hegseth saying here, your agenda is illegals, trans, and DEI, all of which are no longer allowed at DOD, says Pete Hegseth. That's a ratio right there. Pete Hegseth with 7,000 reposts, the Democrat account with 3. So they got completely and totally cooked. And the fake news about Pete Hegseth resigning or being forced out by Trump is also getting cooked by official White House account after official White House account. You'll be shocked to know that NPR, remember the NPR Signal connection, that NPR is the one running with this fake headline that Pete Hegseth is out, right? Here's Carolyn Levitt yesterday on it. NPR story is totally fake news based on anonymous sources, clearly no idea what they're talking about. As President Trump said this morning, he stands behind Pete Hegseth. Let's go ahead and listen to Trump and Carolyn Levitt on this issue. Go.
I mean, I hear they're doing that whole thing again. Here we go again. Just a waste of time. He is doing a great job.
Why do you still have confidence?
Because he's doing a great job. Thanks, Ask the Houthis how he's doing. Ask the Houthis how much dysfunction they have. There's none. Pete's doing a great job. Everybody's happy with him. We have the highest recruitment numbers I think they've had in 28 years. No, he's doing a great job. It's just fake news. They just bring up stories. I guess it sounds like disgruntled employees. You know, he was put there to get rid of a lot of bad people, and that's what he's doing. So you don't always have friends when you do that.
Should he stop?
No ambiguity there from the president. Also, Carolyn Levitt coming in over the top on the fake news stories that Pete Hegseth is being forced out by President Trump. Let's go.
The president stands strongly behind Secretary Hegseth, who is doing a phenomenal job leading the Pentagon. And this is what happens when the entire Pentagon is working against you and working against the monumental change that you are trying to implement. Secretary Hegseth was nominated for this position because he is standing up for the war fighter, the men and women in uniform who are putting their lives on the line to protect our country and our homeland. And unfortunately, there have been people at that building who don't like the change the secretary is trying to bring, so they are leaking and they are lying to the mainstream media. We've seen this game played before. The secretary is doing a tremendous job, and the president stands strongly behind him.
Let's go ahead and check in on some of those people, shall we? Army suspends Fort McCoy commander after astonishing insult to Trump and Vance and Hegseth. Well, let's read, shall we? A senior Army commander was suspended after Wisconsin fort she ran failed to post photos of Donald Trump, J.D. Vance, Pete Hegseth on the base's chain of command. Do you understand? Like, we don't have a military if the military doesn't acknowledge the chain of command. The point of the president is a military position. First and foremost, the president is the commander-in-chief of the armed forces. The Pentagon has had a chaotic week as several staffers let go following an investigation into leaks. Hegseth has consistently tried to lay down the law on insubordination, having previously fired Space Commander stationed in Greenland for appearing to distance herself from comments made by the Vice President. On Sunday, the Defense Secretary tweeted a story about the suspension of Colonel Shayla Ramirez, commander of Fort McCoy, whose base chain of command board was missing photos of Trump, Vance, and Hegseth. Let's go ahead and look at the board there. She has been suspended. Look at this. Could you imagine? I mean, this is at what point do you call this an insurrection, right? Because they're armed and they're refusing to acknowledge. They're, in fact, stripping command. We have a civilian military command, right? So we elect the president commands the military. That's how it works. It's a great chain of command. At what point is this individual not an insurrectionist? I don't know. I just know, right, you should, I mean, maybe this is because of the new PT test rules. You'd have to assume. Maybe that's the problem here, right? Do some push-ups. Can you do a chin-up? Can you run a mile? Maybe that's where the friction is coming from in this decision. Either way, she is suspended. Should be even worse than that. Court-martialed. Ramirez is what's known as a garrison commander at Fort McCoy, responsible for day-to-day operations, management, military installation. A social media post a week ago showing black blank photo frames, Trump, Vance, and Hegseth, made waves on social media. Defense Department investigation, task, and purpose reported. The military outlet noted that the speculation that Ramirez made the omissions on purpose, it was not confirmed. Well, this is what they're facing. One final little story before we get to our first guest here. Kristi Noem, who we chilled out with a couple weeks ago in New York. What was it, like a 7-car motorcade? She was surrounded by Secret Service. They were strapped and ready to go. I was chatting with the Secret Service members, chatting them up. She had her own security as well from Homeland Security. She rolled deep. Kristi Noem, who's in charge of the Secret Service at Homeland Security, she's also in charge of Border Patrol. She's in charge of ICE. She's in charge of Homeland Security Police. She's in charge of TSA. Like, she's in charge of the law. Kristi Noem is in charge of the largest law enforcement apparatus federally in the country. Not the FBI. Kristi Noem. So anyway, she has top clearance and top protective packages from the Secret Service. She was robbed. How the hell does that happen? She was robbed. The only reason I'm detailing all this is that she was robbed in Washington, D.C. Thief went into the bubble, as you would call it, right? Got within striking distance of Kristi Noem, grabbed her purse, and walked away, and nobody said anything. This happened on Sunday during an Easter dinner. Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem's Gucci bag, $3,000 in cash, stolen in D.C. She'd been dining at a place called Capitol Burger. Never been there. Danny, you ever been there? ALX, you ever been there? Sounds like some place that that Danny and ALX would hang out. A person familiar with the case told the Post that DHS Secretary had just finished praying when she felt a brush against her leg. She thought it was one of her grandchildren before realizing her purse was missing. Her purse included her driver's license, passport, DHS badge, makeup, checks, bank card, healthcare card, medication, apartment keys. The bag itself is a $5,000 bag. So this individual stole close to 10 grand in valuables. Plus, how valuable is her DHS badge? Exactly. A lot. And her medications? Well, that's something very private. What the hell's going on? Where's the Secret Service? This is insane. Like, Klein and I went with Kristi Noem to a very dangerous place. We went to a subway station in New York where a criminal alien had lit someone on fire on a park bench. It's a pretty famous video. We can't play it here on the program because, well, it's too gruesome and horrifying. You've probably seen it, though. We went there. Dude, I'm telling you, like, we had a phalanx of Secret Service agents with us at all time. This is why the story shocks me. There was like 5 agents in front, 5 agents in back. Everyone was strapped, ready to go. So how's this possible? Here's the New York Post article, actually, on our visit there. There we are doing our interview. How's this possible, man? Dude, people are caught lacking. Is it an inside job? I don't know. Apparently, the Secret Service is reviewing. They show a dude in a surgical mask, dark pants, a fur-type collar, and a baseball cap. And he snatched the bag before leaving the restaurant. No suspect had been identified. Suspect glanced around the restaurant before grabbing Noem's bag, covering it with his jacket, hustling out of the restaurant, according to sources described in the video. Secret Service provides security for the secretary because, well, it's her department. She's in charge of it, as it does for the president. So are you telling me you could pickpocket Trump? Wouldn't try. Wouldn't recommend it. But you're telling me you could just pickpocket Trump? Somebody could just enter the bubble, right? And like take thousands of dollars from Kristi Noem and all of her classified identification? Dude. People caught lacking. All right. Somebody who was caught lacking, of course, was the director of NPR in a grilling from our first guest here, Representative Brandon Gill from Texas, who joins us live now. It's my favorite questioning I've heard in Congress in a very long time. Like, how much reparations have you paid, lady? Like, hey, white lady, like, you hate white people so much. Like, how much reparations have you paid? We played it because, Brandon, there's this weird connection between her and Signal and between NPR running a fake news story about Pete Hegseth being fired yesterday. And, I mean, it just seems a little too suspicious for me, man.
Yeah, thanks for having me on, first of all. But, the thing with Catherine Marr, head of NPR, which we tried to highlight in that hearing, is not just the bias at NPR and PBS, which we all know about, but the degree to which people like Catherine Marr hate conservatives and hate Christians. And I wouldn't put anything past her at this point after seeing all of her past comments about her hatred for us, that what she might be doing to undermine the Trump administration right now.
Yeah, dude. I mean, it's really nefarious. The way that I look at this is, and I know you got a ton of military members in your district, everywhere in Texas, everywhere in Florida. There's people who are willing to serve their country. It's pretty rare. It's something that needs to be protected. Those people love Pete Hegseth. Like, the base loves Pete Hegseth. Our comment section loves Pete Hegseth. He's one of the people that are like he's truly effective in what he's doing. Is this why they're targeting him?
Yeah, so many people have been sick of seeing our military focused on woke, perverted social experiments, as opposed to creating the most lethal military force on the globe. And that's what Pete Hegseth is doing right now. He's getting the woke, weird stuff out. He's getting the DEI stuff out. And he's focusing on having the strongest military, the most ready military, the most lethal military in the world. That's what most people want to see. That's what my constituents want to see. It's what the American people want. And I think that is what our men and women who are in uniform want to be. They don't want to go into the military and have woke stuff shoved down their throats. They want to go and they want to perform and they want to value excellence over some weird diversity quota that the left is trying to push. So now, whenever Hegseth is pushing all of this, I think that does put a target on his back because all of that is what the left has been pushing for so long. So, of course, they're going after him. It's not surprising. Anytime you have an effective conservative in the administration, in Congress, anywhere else, you see the left push this full court press against him. And I think that's all this is. And unfortunately, it seems like some of this may be coming from within the Pentagon itself, which is even worse. And that's a whole nother problem that we've got to work on.
Trump term 1 was just rife with more leaks than the Iraqi Navy. And it was like nobody ever got prosecuted. Nothing ever happened to anybody. So it just didn't matter when the CIA listeners were leaking President Trump's conversations with Zelensky to get him impeached. Like, nobody had any fear. There needs to be some type of fear instituted in the system, and people who are leaking or criminally listening in and taking information to Congress behind the president's back, like, that stuff needs to be clamped down on, right? There are systems for whistleblowers, but when you're not following those systems and you're just trying to damage the administration, whether you're the head of NPR or whether you're inside of the Pentagon refusing to put up Trump's photo, there has to be some type of consequence, right?
There does. This is only going to stop whenever we do see prosecutions. I think luckily we've got a DOJ who is not political anymore, not politicized, and I think will follow through with some of these prosecutions if they have the evidence and it deserves it. But you're exactly right. We've got a
a rogue bureaucracy. And it's not just the administrative state like the EPA and other agencies. It is in the military itself as well at times that oftentimes exists for itself. It's like a fourth branch of government. And they don't want to be overseen by Congress. They don't want to be overseen by the executive, even though that is our constitutional purview. They fight us against it. That's got to change. And the people in these agencies, whether it's in the military or whether it's in any other rogue executive bureaucratic agency, need to understand that elected officials, the people who are elected by the American people, are their bosses. We have civilian control of the military. That is a core part of our constitutional republic. President Trump is the commander in chief. He is the boss of the military. He's the number one guy. Congress has authority to oversee rogue agencies and to rein them in. They need to understand that power. And the only way they're going to do that whenever they're stonewalling Congress or stonewalling the president or working against the president in this case is if we see prosecutions.
Yes. I think that you could really, you're on the Judiciary Committee, and you're also on Government Reform Committee and Oversight. And so these would be really great positions of power to take on perhaps what's happening with Letitia James in New York, which seems very cut and dry. And we've had investigators on, we've had people from HUD and inside of the legal systems when it comes to getting these mortgages and manipulating the systems, saying, man, this is a slam dunk case. It'd be, we haven't heard anything else out of the DOJ, but the referral, but it'd be really great to like see one powerful person in handcuffs, Brandon. It'd be really nice, Brandon, Congressman, to see one powerful person get dragged in and say, no, there are consequences to your illegal actions, especially if they're the illegal actions that you try to put Trump in prison for.
Right. I mean, we should be holding Letitia James to the same standard that she held President Trump to. I think that case against the president was total nonsense, and she knew it as well. But if that's the standard that she set, then that's the standard we need to abide by. Turns out Letitia James did a lot of, or it appears that she did a lot of the things that she accused President Trump of doing, saying that she had a 4-bedroom unit instead of a 5-bedroom unit to get a better interest rate on her mortgage, saying that she lived in Virginia whenever she had to live in New York to be Attorney General of New York, saying that she was married to her dad whenever she wasn't. That's pretty weird. All to get a more favorable
Congressman, I hate to interrupt you, but it was officiated by Ilhan Omar. You know that marriage. And
that's a problem as well.
It's cultural enrichment, you see. Yeah,
that's right. Cultural. That's what we need. That's what we need in this country apparently now. So, but all of the things that she said that President Trump was doing, it turns out she was doing. So she set the standard. I think she ought to be prosecuted just as aggressively as she prosecuted the president.
Good man. So this is a very perfect jumping off point to my next line of questioning, which are your Democrat colleagues running down to El Salvador to cha-cha dance and sip margaritas with Kilmar, the MS-13 member, wife beater, and gang member. There is a federal statute called the Logan Act. And people say, well, it's very old and, people normally don't get prosecuted under the Logan Act. Well, General Flynn was. He's a friend of the show. And so were other members of the Trump administration, term 1. And this act very simply says that private citizens will not engage in diplomacy with foreign governments without the authorization of the U.S. government, and aims to ensure that the U.S. government speaks with one voice in foreign affairs and prevents individuals from undermining its position. Sure as hell seems like Democrats are undermining the position of the Trump administration on deportations here. It certainly seems like there are going to be, there should be major ramifications for doing this, and that, they shouldn't just be allowed to go and side with MS-13 down in El Salvador, especially given the fact that this guy's not an American citizen. But here they are doing those kind of things. If I were to do that, I'd be put on a watch list, probably a no-fly list, right? So if I go to El Salvador and I meet with prisoners and I meet with gang members, I'm on the no-fly list. I get major questioning when I come back into America through Dallas, right? What's going to happen to these goofball members of Congress that you serve with?
I think the Logan Act is something we should take a look at here. We've got members of Congress, U.S. senators, who, as you said, are going down to El Salvador. And the goal there is to influence what is essentially American foreign policy, which is to influence the president's ability, his Article 2 plenary authority as commander-in-chief, to expel alien enemies of this nation, to repel an invasion, as we saw over the past 4 years. And this guy was a key part of that. This is an MS-13 gang member. 2 different courts determined that he was a gang member. He has been suspected of human smuggling, from local police departments. And we know that these are the exact kind of people that the American people voted overwhelmingly to get out of our country. This is exactly what the American people voted for last November, to give the president the power to secure our borders and deport illegal aliens. And Democrats are fighting him every single step of the way. This should be common sense. We don't want MS-13 gangbangers in our neighborhoods. Everybody, Republican or Democrat, should be able to agree with that, except the Democrats on Capitol Hill. And that's a huge problem. And I do think we got to look at the Logan Act here, because this does appear to be members of Congress and the Senate trying to explicitly undermine the president's foreign policy in a foreign country.
Yeah, this case is now sent back to Texas, right? So they ruled that it has to be adjudicated in Texas. I don't believe that it's your district, but it certainly is your state. And so what's the take on this in Texas? I know when you walk the streets and you ask people who are in America if they want more criminal aliens here, they all say no, pretty much regardless of who they voted for. This seems like a 90-10 issue, especially when you include the wife-beating, human smuggling, and gang affiliation. And so I'm not sure I see the victory, the W here for Democrats. What do people on the ground in Texas say?
No, I don't see the W for Democrats. In fact, I think Republicans ought to be funding some of these trips. If Democrats want to go and take photo ops with members of foreign gangs, then they're welcome to do that. And we'll use that in the next election cycle, because they are showing us who they are. Remember, we talk about this a lot. Whenever somebody shows you who they are, whenever they tell you who they are, believe them. And this is the Democrats siding with Tren de Aragua, siding with MS-13 over and over and over again against the American people. I'm not sure this is a 90-10 issue. I think this is more like a 95-5 issue here. Everybody just about in my district here, other than the radical lunatics, want to get rid of gang members out of our country. They don't want foreign terrorists in their communities. The only people who support this are Democrat congressmen and Democrat senators. So I think that this is a clear case of the president conducting foreign policy, repelling an invasion. We've got to stand behind him. I've been fighting the courts recently. I filed articles of impeachment against radical Judge Boasberg, who demanded that the president turn a plane full of Tren de Aragua terrorists around midair and bring them back into the United States. I worked with America First Legal to file an amicus brief in that case as well. So we are pursuing this aggressively, but we have got to stand with the president here. He's doing exactly what the people told him to do, and he's being very successful.
Yeah. Texas was very successful, deporting their own immigrants and putting up their own border wall barriers, the longest contiguous border with Mexico there in Texas. It's got to be a big relief for your constituents that immigration has pretty much gone down to zero.
It's a huge relief. It's a huge relief. I mean, we really are on the front lines of the illegal immigration battle here. And remember, it's not just the drugs and the crime, the murderers and the rapists who are coming into our communities. It's also the flood of millions of illegal aliens who are straining our social services, who are filling our schools. And we wake up one day and realize our kids can't read because millions of illegal aliens have come into the country. It's our social services, our healthcare, all of these key parts that we expect from our federal government have been strained to the point of breaking over the past few years. And it's because of the illegal aliens that Joe Biden brought into the country. Every American can see it. Every Texan can see it. And this is why it is so important that we not only secure the border, which President Trump did in a matter of about a month, but deport all of the illegal aliens that Joe Biden brought into our country. We've got to take our country back. If one president can flood our country with illegal aliens with impunity, with no process, no vetting, no nothing, and a future president cannot deport them, then we don't have a country anymore. We've lost our sovereignty. We've lost it permanently. And the American people have no say in who is allowed into their communities and who is not. And that is wrong. And that's why we've got to put the pedal to the floor here and support the president.
Fantastic. Very quickly here, Congressman James Comer of your committee just referred Andrew Cuomo to the DOJ, one of hopefully many referrals, but for lying to Congress. And this is, of course, a crime punishable by a prison sentence and pretty hefty fines. He lied to Congress, knowingly and willfully making false statements to Congress about the COVID-19 pandemic, which, of course, he was one of the authoring monsters of. What's going to happen here? Is Pam Bondi going to actually prosecute a powerful Democrat?
Well, it appears that we have the evidence here, so I sure hope so. This is another example of if you allow other elected officials or whomever to lie to Congress with impunity, you're obviously going to see more people lying to Congress. And a key power that Congress has is the power to investigate things like this, where Andrew Cuomo was putting putting COVID patients in nursing homes. He was, it appears to be, underreporting the number of COVID deaths. I mean, these are egregious things. And remember, at the time, he was a hero to the left. He was Andrew Cuomo and Anthony Fauci were the two gods of the left-wing movement for their response to COVID. And it looks like a large part of that on Cuomo's part was fraudulent. But we've got to go after this kind of stuff. The American people demand justice. We saw what our government did to us during COVID, and we want retribution at this point, and just retribution. We want the people who wronged us to see justice, and this is a good example of that.
Good. We'll take anything, and we'll take a powerful, corrupt, evil person in handcuffs. I don't care if they have to be like the teeny miniature handcuffs for Dr. Fauci, because you have to get really small. Or if they're, if they're greasy handcuffs for Andrew Cuomo, I don't care. Or if they're the oversized handcuffs for Letitia James, like big monster, kind of funny, that like look like a prop, right? That's fine. Either way, it doesn't matter to me. The size of the handcuffs, just send somebody. Punish someone is what we're for. We thank you very much, Congressman, for being on the program. It's always good fun. You are the youngest member of Congress right now, and you're also on a rocket ship, and so we encourage everybody to go follow Brandon Gill right here. 150,000 Americans, can't be wrong. Support the people who fight for us. God bless you.
Hey, Benny, thanks for having me.
Thanks, man. And guys, I got to tell you, it is nice to be made in the shade. And we are made in the shade, finally, with a little project that we did with our backyard. Fast Growing Trees is the company that helped get trees for us. It gets very hot here in Tampa. Those trees planted, and they look beautiful. My wife is very, very happy. All you men out there know that this is the key to a happy life, a happy wife. We were able to work with Fast Growing Trees to get these trees planted and potted, and the right trees, they can help you for all of your needs. 2 million happy customers across the country, and I certainly am one of them. They have the plants your yard needs, fruit trees, privacy trees, flowering trees, shrubs, so much more. Whatever plants you're interested in, Fast Growing Trees has got you covered, and a perfect fit for your climate and space. Their Alive and Thrive guarantee. Make sure that your plants arrive healthy and happy. And their plant experts can help you out. They did for us. It gets, again, brutally hot and scorching here. You need specific style of plants. My neighbors have cactuses. This is how hot it can get actually in Tampa. I don't want a cactus. I got these little kids. They'd have pokers in their butts like a Looney Tunes cartoon if I put cactuses in my yard. But instead, we have these nice little fig trees that we got. That look great. Fig trees, olive trees, both, I think, maybe. Who knows? Ask my wife. The point is that you should call Fast Growing Trees yourself. This spring, they have a great deal for your yard. You'll get 15% off your first purchase using code Benny at checkout. That's an additional 15% off fastgrowingtrees.com using the code Benny at checkout. Fastgrowingtrees.com, code Benny. Perfect time to plant. Use the code Benny to save today. Offer is valid for a limited time. Terms and conditions do apply. Go to fastgrowingtrees.com for details. Somebody who has, please grab the White House tweet from yesterday with Joe Biden and the Easter Bunny. So fun, so easy, so simple. And I want to bring it up for our next guest because he prevented something horrible from happening, which is another fake presidency. Instead, we got a real presidency. So the whitehouse.gov account with millions of subs posted yesterday, this is what it looks like to not have the White House be a nursing home, which I think is really awesome. With a video of Donald Trump roasting Joe Biden in one of his more humiliating, maybe is it the most humiliating thing that happened to Joe Biden? No, that's probably Joe Biden falling down while walking across a flat stage. But one of the more humiliating things that happened was Joe Biden being shown around by the Easter Bunny. And so here, ladies and gentlemen, is what the White House posted yesterday. And it's just like a perfect lead-in to our next guest. Let's listen to this. Yeah, all right. Hold up. This is Donald Trump with Easter Bunny again, as we covered yesterday. One, it looks like they did race swap the Easter Bunny this year. Okay, and then two, the Easter Bunny's not wearing a mask anymore. Joe Biden actually forced the Easter Bunny to mask one of these years during COVID. Here we go.
Remember the bunny with Joe Biden? Remember? Do you remember when the bunny took Joe Biden out? He's not taking Trump out. Anyway.
Okay. Ladies and gentlemen, joining us now, one of President Trump's top advisors in the 2020 and 2024 campaign, somebody who got rid of the man who needed to be led around by the Easter Bunny, Tim Murtaugh, joining us live now. Tim, what's up, man? We have heard that D.C. is a very dangerous place, okay? Kristi Noem got robbed, and we're very, very worried about it. I don't know if you've ever been pickpocketed before in Washington, D.C., but just watch out, right, if you're around those parts.
Yeah, I appreciate you having that video of the Easter Bunny there and the warning about pickpockets, because now we have a better Easter Bunny there. I was at the Easter egg roll yesterday at the White House, and I didn't see any marauding bunnies there trying to interrupt the president this time. That's for sure. You know what the bunny was doing there? That was the bunny trying to handle Joe Biden, because Biden had wandered over and was speaking to reporters against the wishes of his handlers. So they sent the bunny in to get him out of there. So, God forbid he would go over there and start rambling and stuff. But you could see the bunny saying, no, hey, go over, let's go over. Mortifying. A guy or a person, whoever, some intern in a bunny suit is directing the president of the United States. No, you're not allowed to be here. Go over there. It's insane. Thank God we have President Trump back in the White House.
What's your odds on who was inside of that bunny suit with Biden? Was it cringe? Was it cringe Jean-Pierre, or was it the guy? Was it the guy who was stealing all the women's luggage?
It might have been that guy. Yeah, that's true. That's true. He would have made off with that costume, though. Maybe that. You know what? Because that was his thing, right? Stealing luggage and stealing outfits. Maybe that could be why we have a new bunny suit now. That could be why.
That's right. All right. So just really quickly, we covered this live yesterday. How was the event? Good? Nice,
cheerful? Yeah. It was very cheerful, very joyful. A lot of fun. My two little boys had a great time, and took my niece there as well. Had an awesome time, and it was packed. But it was a beautiful day. It was wonderful. People were thrilled to see the president come out and participate and hang out and sit down with the kids for a little bit. Caroline Leavitt came out and read to some of the kids. It was pretty awesome. It was good.
So a piece of news that we did off the top of the show here, Tim, was the fake news about Pete Hegseth, his standing with the administration. Now, he nuked that story from inside of the White House Easter egg roll. Pretty rare, and that's ballsy, right? So you have a bunch of kids running around with eggs behind you, and Pete Hegseth's just roasting the press corps. But maybe you can speak to this. Like, what operation is being run against Pete Hegseth right now from the corporate press? And we'll say one final thing here, Tim. When everyone's reading from the same script, you know where it's all coming from.
Yeah, we've seen this all before, and I think that it is right that it probably does come from within the giant operation that has been the Pentagon for so long. And when somebody comes in and tries to change things and shake things up and take management, what they're used to, in a different direction, then the knives come out. I think that's what we're seeing. One of the things that has to me been the most humorous is that NPR, of all outlets, has been leading the way here, trying to promote this story that President Trump is trying to find someone to use to replace Pete Hegseth. NPR, can you estimate how many credible sources National Public Radio has inside the Trump administration? None. NPR has zero sources inside Trump world. I can tell you that accurately. No way NPR has anybody who knows anything telling them anything about what's going on inside the White House. Least of all, what's going on inside the brain of Donald Trump. No chance NPR knows anything about what's happening.
But the lady who runs NPR, Catherine Mayer, who's regularly said that her biggest challenge is the First Amendment, and she doesn't believe in any truth, is also on the board of Signal, which is strange here, Tim.
That's odd.
Odd connection.
It is an odd connection. And, if NPR were performing such an invaluable service that they are completely indispensable to American life and they provide much needed information that everyone has to have, then they should be able to sink or swim on their own great reporting, right? Yeah. Why on earth do they need? It's kind of like Harvard. Why does Harvard University, with a $50-some billion endowment, why do they need taxpayer money every single year? Why does NPR need taxpayer money? If they are such a great, fantastic, indispensable media outlet, how come they can't make it on their own? It's really a question that they can't answer.
So is NPR, this has been like it's been the pipe dream, obviously. The memes have become dreams. Memes from like a couple years ago are now reality in the new Trump administration. So defunding NPR is something we've heard about for 2 decades as Republicans.
Yeah.
Is that actually going to happen, Tim?
I mean, I sure hope so. If not now, then when, really? And it's really, to break down the argument from NPR, every time this comes up, they say, we really only get a very small percentage of our funding from the federal government. Well, if that is the case, then why do they squawk so much every time the idea of cutting it comes up? And so I do really hope, I believe President Trump is on board with this. And I think, through budget reconciliation or some other vehicle, perhaps, but usually probably in budget reconciliation, I think this is the opportunity to do it. Republicans control both houses of Congress and obviously control the White House. And if not now, then when? So I hope so.
Okay, so moving back to the budget and to the way that America spends its money, there was news this morning, I'm not sure if we have it in the show, but we can go grab it, of a massive pharmaceutical company moving operations, $50 billion worth of operations here to the States. And that we're seeing headlines like that every single day.
Yeah.
Obviously the pipeline of American medicine has to flow through our enemies, and this is very, very bad. And I know this is something that's near and dear to your heart, like the production of medicine here in this country. Can you give me the status of this? I know that this is obviously a very positive direction now. We depend on communist China. If communist China cut off pharmaceuticals, then we would effectively have no way to treat sick people in this country, which seems like a really bad plan. And Joe Biden made it worse with his Infrastructure American Investment Act. So, can you unpack this for me, Tim?
Yeah, so it is good news to see these industries moving their facilities back into America, and that has been the president's goal. That's what he's been trying to do. That's what he campaigned on, and we see it every day. You're right, headline after headline, and it's working. But inside the Inflation Reduction Act, and this does hit home to me because I have 2 elderly parents and as most people do, elderly people in my extended family as well. Inside the Inflation Reduction Act was something that's come to be known as the Biden pill penalty. And what it does is that it discriminates against pill form medicine in favor of other more cumbersome, more inconvenient medicines that are called large molecule medicines, where you have to go to the hospital. Think of injections or IVs or infusions, those kinds of things. Joe Biden favored those medicines and discriminated against pills, which makes no sense at all because pills are on average 71% cheaper than those other forms of medicines. They're cheaper to make, they're cheaper for patients, they're cheaper for the entire healthcare system. And by discriminating against those, what it did was it drove away 70% of the R&D dollars away from pills. So the University of Chicago did a study 188 new cures or applications for existing medicines have gone completely undiscovered. And these are medicines, they're called small molecule or pills because they can cross the blood-brain barrier, and they can work on maladies that affect the brain. So we're talking about mental health medicines, Alzheimer's medicines, and in the case of other medicines, we're talking about cancer drugs. And these are pills, again, 71% cheaper than other forms of medicines, and Joe Biden discriminated against them. This passed in the Inflation Reduction Act with 0 Republican votes. The Democrats did this all to themselves. And while they were doing it in this act back in 2021, you had doctors groups, patients groups, you had pharmaceutical companies doing it, business interests, various conservative groups told Joe Biden, this is what's going to happen, is going to be the death knell for innovation in pills. They did it anyway. And so now there's no motivation for generic drugs to get into the market. And, that's how prices are really driven down, is by generic drugs getting in. It's stymied that. And you know what? You mentioned China at the beginning here. China sees what's happening, and China is rushing to fill the gap. They are investing in research for pill form medicine like they never have before, because they know this is their opportunity to produce things that will keep their own people healthy for the long run, so that you don't have to use those medicines of last resort. So China sees the opening. Joe Biden did this. Congress can fix it, and President Trump issued an executive order last week directing Secretary Kennedy to work with Congress to fix the Biden pill penalty. The pills are 71% cheaper. It's a no-brainer, which I guess explains why Joe Biden didn't get it.
So very good. Tim, you do this professionally. That was a great setup. You throw the ball and then you hit it, and it's very nice hit. Okay, so here's a not very nice hit. Joe Biden, I guess, hitting himself, I suppose, by photoshopping himself into his own Easter post. I'm not sure if you saw this. What's your take on this? This is clearly, it clearly makes no sense, like where Joe Biden is, what he's wearing, who, like the lighting. That's what's going on? Does Joe Biden need his pills? Was that where Joe Biden actually was during this creepy Easter photograph? Also, you can see the fake black hand there over the shoulder. Nobody's quite sure where that's coming from. Is his forearm 4 feet long? Nobody knows. Why, Tim? Why?
I don't really understand this picture. I did see it, and it caused me to wonder. I don't want to declare it that it has been photoshopped, because I'm not an expert in forensic examination of photos like this. But man, I don't know how you could possibly, unless his forearm is like 3 feet long, there's no way you could get your fingers up over with the way you can see that his left arm there is not extended. What is he, kneeling? Because you can see that he is like pictured from about the waist up, which means that he's either kneeling right behind those people, or he has in fact been photoshopped in there. It's really extremely puzzling, because he doesn't look like he fits in this shot. It's hard to describe, but if you look at it, you can tell it's odd. And while looking at this, I had another question that popped into my mind, Benny, and that is, where's Hunter?
Yeah, that's right.
Was Hunter not invited?
A dude in South Africa with his Secret Service, right? Yeah, that's right, yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's right. Maybe he's still vacationing.
Yeah, you know what? I got it for you, Tim. He's in El Salvador, where Democrats love to vacation these days.
That's the place to be if you're a Democrat. That's the first stop on the Democratic presidential trail, is going to El Salvador. That's for sure. You always talk about, well, you got to go to New Hampshire. South Carolina is really very important, all these early primary states. But by God, if you don't hit El Salvador, you are missing the boat there.
That's such a critical primary, actually.
Yeah, the El Salvador primary.
Specifically, the terrorism center in El Salvador. You got to get that vote, right, from inside of the prison. You got to go and you got to campaign cell to cell, right? And you got to make sure these are the constituents. You got to make sure that you lock in this MS-13 vote. This is going to backfire, right? I mean, is it not like a 90-10 issue? Democrats are calling this a winner in Politico today.
Well, they have to now. What are they going to do? Back down now? This is again, we're seeing another in action here. This is another one of Donald Trump's superpowers. He has many, but this is, I think, the main one. He has the ability to make his political opponents absolutely lose their minds. And that, because that's what's happening here. Look, Donald Trump, and they did it again all through the campaign. They did it in 2024. Like the immigration, they have thought for years that if they just say the words immigration and Donald Trump, then they will win the votes of Latino voters here in America. Well, that's wrong, because Latinos, just like every other American, believe that if you're going to come to this country, most Americans that is, you should follow the rules. And Democrats just don't get that. And it's because Donald Trump is on the other side of this particular issue, they reflexively take the other side. This is a 95-5 issue, and they take the 5. Simply because Donald Trump is on the other side. They do it endlessly. They do it over and over again. They do it with all the trans activism and issues like that. They just endlessly, only because they hate Donald Trump so much, they can't see straight, and they've got themselves convinced. This is a party that stood by and actually applauded when Joe Biden was letting in millions upon millions of illegal aliens without any recourse whatsoever, without blinking an eye about the idea of the rule of law, right? Letting people, endless streams of people come into this country, completely flagrantly violating our laws. Not only did they not care, they loved it because it was their guy doing it. And now, when Donald Trump wants to deport, let's talk about who this guy is. A known MS-13 gang member, an illegal alien to start with, a spouse abuser, and what else? Oh, a human trafficker. All those things. They have embraced this guy. I mean, good God. There's the fellow. This is their poster child. This is the guy that they have decided to hitch their wagon to. And they truly believe that people in the United States of America will also embrace this guy. And now, when it comes out, all these facts about him and his background and what an actual criminal he is, they say, well, it's not really about him. Yeah, well, you made it about him. You made it about him. And so, yeah, it's going to backfire.
I've never seen, I've been doing this, at least observing the political space for the better part of 30 years, and I have never seen someone get trolled into putting their pinky up and sipping margaritas with a terrorist with a cherry on the glass. There was a cherry on the rim of the margarita, which is that is special, right? Here's the close-up. That is special.
Right. And Van Hollen there. Yeah, the cherry is truly the cherry on top. Van Hollen there, when he was reporting back, he says that the guy was, quote, traumatized by his time in this El Salvadoran prison. Traumatized. Oh, well, we wouldn't want, and you know what? The reason they say, oh, you can't send him back to El Salvador because a rival gang had a price on his head. He's under threat from this rival gang, meaning that he is a gang member, right? This is their logic, that he is a gang member, and the rival gang won't want him to be around because he's from the other gang. They are actually using his criminality as his defense. Like, you can't do that. He's a criminal. Look what happened to, I mean, come on.
You can control you're exactly right about Trump. You control your enemy into making such horrible critical errors. And here's the final error I'd like to talk with you about. Okay. Here's the new polling out from today from Interactive Poll, Atlas Intel, Democratic primary 2028. Would you look at this? AOC, right up near the very tippy top. Tim, what say you of AOC as the presidential candidate in 28?
God bless her. I'm tempted to make a contribution to her for her primary campaign. And I just think that if the Democrats were to nominate AOC, I think that would be a banner day for Republicans. And it really calls to mind everything that I see David Hogg doing over as the vice chairman of the Democratic National Committee. A young Mr. Hogg who's decided that he's going to primary, if there are any remaining reasonably moderate Democrats, he's going to primary all of them and replace them with crazy leftists, dragging the party further to the left, firmly making it really the party of AOC and Bernie Sanders. And they haven't learned a blessed thing from November 2020, where they're trying to deny this, but they truly got shellacked. Donald Trump won the popular vote. He won all 7 battleground states, and it was on the strength of his message and his positions, but he was aided by the fact that the Democrats have gone crazy left. And if they follow that up by nominating AOC, then by God, they're going to deserve everything that they get. And I think it's wonderful.
I just can't believe it. Look at she's within almost a margin of error for Kamala Harris.
Yeah.
If you want to prepare people, it's going to be AOC. They don't really have another choice.
Well, man, if they go back to the well with Kamala Harris again, that will be almost as good. So, I mean, between those two, because we know Kamala Harris is a terrible candidate, even if they don't. And AOC will just be so easily lampooned, the crazy positions that she's staked out. And she was the author of the Green New Deal, the original version of the Green New Deal. And by God, boy, let us run against that all day long. No kidding.
There is the author of the Green New Deal getting off a $32 million jet that pumps more carbon into the atmosphere in 1 minute than you do in a year. And it costs $15,000 per hour in fossil fuel to run this jet. And I just can't wait. I mean, I just can't wait. Just really quickly, can you handicap a J.D. Vance versus AOC for me, please, Tim?
Oh, yeah, J.D. Vance wins in a walk. I mean, you take everything seriously and you fight every fight as hard as you can. But I mean, I would love to have J.D. Vance or any Republican, but I do love J.D. Vance. I think he would be a fantastic candidate. Going toe-to-toe with AOC. Imagine J.D. Vance on a debate stage with Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. I mean, what a lopsided affair that's going to be. We already saw Joe Biden dismantle both Harris and Joe Biden, and he ended both of their careers. And that is exactly what J.D. Vance would do to AOC. I would love to see that. I would love it.
Here's to hoping that this is what we see on election night 2028. I want to see AOC with an empty crying inside of an empty parking lot with her fake handcuffs. Nobody ever remembers that she used fake handcuffs, that she was fake arrested by the Capitol Police and she acted like she was handcuffed. Nobody ever remembers that. We remember. Pepperidge Farm remembers.
It's so good. And she wore that white pantsuit to go cry at the chain link fence there. So awesome.
Tim Murtaugh remembers. You got to go hit up Tim Murtaugh. Make sure that you're following. He's absolutely rowdy. He has a brand new book out, Swing Hard in Case You Hit It, and is one of those people who he's like a humble guy who got Trump elected, and it just wouldn't have happened without him. And we're just thankful that he's a friend of the show.
I don't know about that. I think Donald J. Trump had something to do with that, Betty.
Well, of course.
I was happy to be on the team.
Tell you what, man. It was a rock star. It's a rock star team. And yeah, we're happy to have you as a friend of the show, Tim. Godspeed, and let's get AOC that nomination in 2020.
Here's hoping, and I do love JD Vance. Thanks, Benny. I appreciate your time. Thanks a lot.
Hey, man. Well, ladies and gentlemen, always a rowdy time. You never know what's going to happen next. We have a lot of breaking news out of this court case with the Alien Enemies Act. And it's going to be very, very interesting to see what happens here. We have the brand new lawfare drop on President Trump. We're going to be joined tomorrow by Julie Kelly to talk through all of that. She's been digging deep, and she's gone to these courthouses. She's getting the documents, and she has quite a scandal to break for us tomorrow. So make sure you are tuned in. When you tune in, use your Patriot Mobile device. We talk about Patriot Mobile day and night on this program because it is the backbone of the program itself. We are constantly using our Patriot Mobile devices to deliver news to you. That is because, 1, they are a Christian conservative wireless provider and the only one in America. 2, they are dependable and available on all 3 major networks. And 3, they are the company that backs free speech. And that's something you should really care about if you're in the communication business. So let's rock and roll. Make sure that you get locked in with Patriot Mobile today. Go to patriotmobile.com/Benny or call 972-PATRIOT. And right now, use the promo code Benny for a free month of service if you sign up. Switch to Patriot Mobile and defend freedom with every single call or text that you make. That's patriotmobile.com/Benny. 972-PATRIOT. Get locked in, baby. Speaking of people who are getting locked in or locked up, Trump successfully gets illegal aliens to self-deport from the United States. Come on, just one last little. You always got to do a little. You want a little bump at the end of the show, okay? And so some shows are like doom and gloom. My God, they're coming for Pete Hegseth. He's our boy. We're not going to let them get him. We're not going to let them get Pete Hegseth. Okay? We're going to punch back. Ladies and gentlemen, let's end on some good news. President Trump's crackdown on illegal immigration is successfully getting illegal aliens to self-deport to the United States, a concept mocked by the establishment media. According to interviews with illegal aliens and immigration attorneys published by the Los Angeles Times and the Atlanta Journal-Constitution, many of the nation's 11 million to 22 million illegal aliens are deciding to self-deport. rather than face deportation under the Trump administration. The more likely candidate to self-deport the younger immigrants who arrived to the U.S. relatively recently, don't have any children. Anyone with deeper roots in the country is less mobile. According to the Atlanta area immigration attorney, several of her clients have already left. They just leave. I'm not going to live in fear, they said. Part of the way that you live in fear here is the American law, passed in the 90s if I'm recollecting this, that says that criminal aliens will be fined $1,000 per day for staying in the country, and that those fines can accumulate and lead to the repossession of your property by the state. That's very bad. So let's say you stay here a year. Let's say you think you can stick it out for the Democrats in the midterm. You'll owe hundreds of thousands of dollars to the federal government. You can't afford that. They will then forfeiture all of your property. Not good. Not a great plan, right? So be smart. Self-deport. Okay? Somebody we really wish we could self-deport is Dr. Fauci. Apparently Anthony Fauci's fortune has doubled to $15 million between 2019 and 2023. Would you look at that? During the worst days of the COVID lockdown. So lucrative for Dr. Fauci. When are we going to get a prosecution for Dr. Fauci? When are we going to get a new hearing for Dr. Fauci? Please subpoena Dr. Fauci. Let's go. We are actually losing our patience. We love all these people, but we are losing our patience. Get Fauci in the chair. Get him in the chair. Let's book James Comer. Kara, let's book. Kara's our amazing booker. Doesn't she do an amazing job? Kara does an incredible job. Let's book Jamie Comer. I want Jamie Comer in here. We want to talk about getting Dr. Fauci in the chair. We've learned so much about Dr. Fauci. It's not enough to just have websites. We gotta have some action. Ladies and gentlemen, action every single day in our verse of the day. The reason why is because, well, we want to make sure that we always end the program anchored into truth, bedrock and truth from 1 Corinthians 15:58. Therefore, my dear brothers, stand firm. Let nothing move you. Always give yourselves fully to the work of the Lord, because you know your labor in the Lord is not in vain. I'll just bring up one little thing. Don't forget where we came from. We certainly don't forget, going live 2 years ago to 7 viewers, okay? And it's we really cannot tell you and emphasize how much we appreciate and love you. We love the chat. We love you. We thank you. We're building something together. We're appreciative. You kind of work on something even though you don't see really an end result, and you fight and you claw and you go through a process where you're almost sure the government's going to attack you. And certainly they did. Russia hoaxed us. But you keep fighting. You don't let it. That didn't even mess up our live that night. We just keep fighting. You just keep going. You just muscle through. You shrug off an RPG. Maybe it takes a chunk of your armor off. Don't worry. Tank keeps rolling forward. Always give yourselves fully to the work of the Lord, because the labor is not in vain. Ladies and gentlemen, it hasn't been in vain. Lo and behold, here we are. Okay? I'd much rather be fighting these fights than wondering when the feds are going to kick in my door. Right? You ripped the tag off your mattress. You ripped the tag off your mattress. You're going to Guantanamo Bay, right? That's what was going to happen to me, to Bongino, to Tucker, to Charlie, to everybody, right? So we're just thankful for you. We're thankful for pushing through and seeing, and then humbly on our knees as I pray every morning, Lord, make me fast and accurate, right? And the Patriot prayer, right? You can pray for these things, and you stay humble, and you keep asking, and you know that the work is the Lord's, and all of it is to His credit. And we're just vessels for light. It's pretty awesome. So it's fun. It's oh no, it's fun to be able to roll with you. I guess one final little laugh here before we hop off, and we'll be back on for a Caroline Leavitt press conference. Why not? Effin' wit my gang, gonna get you spilled, from Max Frost. This is a Maxwell Alejandro Frost is a DEI hire in Congress, right? There definitely are DEI congressmen. Where does he represent? Is it Maryland? I don't think so. Is it? Florida. Oh, no. I just had Maryland on the mind. Thought it was a Maryland man. Florida? We should go to his district. Yeah, he's in El Salvador right now. Anyway, they're pulling up old tweets. And Nayib Bukele, the president of El Salvador, is saying, what up? Oh, we be trolling. It's called We Do a Little Trolling. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you for trolling with us today. It's your boy Benny. See ya.
The super strong waterproof tape that can instantly patch, bond, seal, and repair. I sawed this boat in half. Yeah, doggy!
Its triple thick adhesive virtually welds itself to the surface, instantly stopping the toughest leaks.
Where the truth gon' be, faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to life. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies. Watch the truth cascade with the warrior's heart. This man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. From the speeches to debates, Benny sharp like a blade, cutting through the lies. Watch the truth cascade with the warrior's heart. This man never fades. You know it's prime time when Benny invades. From saving the nation to stories untold, the Benny Show's a storm, see the truth unfold. Stay in the loop, let freedom take hold. Salting all the libs, soul never sold. It's the Benny Show, where the truth gon' be. Faith and freedom on your TV screen. Stand up strong, battle through the night. The Benny Show's here, bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light. Bringing liberty to light.